First of all, I would like to share with you is that, as you said, the epidemic is first started from China, and it is actually started right during the Chinese Lunar New Year period of time. So afterwards, we follow strictly the guidance and the instruction given by our central government in China. Our Shenzhen factory was being started by middle of February. Okay, and it takes us about 2 weeks of time, I would say, that we bring back our production pace back to normal. So I will say it did affect a little bit of our scheduled production and delivery because we're supposed to be reopened right after the Chinese New Year, but that was not able to be done. So obviously, once we restarted, and luckily enough is we are able to bring back to the normal production pace by the 2 weeks of time. Okay, so the delay in terms of our delivery commitments to the customers is not that heavy, and we are able to manage it. In our Hong Kong headquarters, we also follow strictly the guidance and the instruction from our Hong Kong government. So we practically started work from home right after our Chinese Lunar New Year holiday. And Mr. Gobo, you will be surprised, we are doing this for almost 3 months of time. Okay, but of course, with all the latest technologies and our facilities, we are able to manage work from homes without any issues. So I will say for FONGs, practically now we are back to normal in terms of our daily operations and production. Find out exactly the right interesting part of it is the epidemic is actually with a different time lag among different countries worldwide. Okay, so obviously there is a time lag in between our hometown China, Hong Kong, with other part of the world. Okay, so I will say for those markets which is having significant domestic demand of themselves, whom was being affected the less in terms of export orders, because as everybody knows, the problems nowadays are the export orders. Okay, so I will say countries like Indonesia, which is having a significant domestic demand, are still having certain level of activities. Okay, our major China market, since they are the first one coming out of the epidemics, and things are back to normal now. So this is a very good part of us, that the China market is bring back to normal now with, I will say, almost full-fledged of activities. And then some interesting export markets, maybe not a very heavy weighted one, but due to the issues of geopolitical issues, people's talking nowadays, we also see they have a little bit more activities, such as like Pakistan. Probably they are getting benefit out of the orders diverted from China. So these are still we see these markets are having certain levels of activities compared to those majorly depending on export markets, which were really badly hit by these epidemics, such as like Bangladesh, as everybody knows. This is a very good question because this worldwide pandemic and lockdown probably are new to everybody. And also it come all of a sudden that no one have enough preparations, especially from shutting down our factories or manufacturing point of view. This can be a big disaster to them, that you lock down just in a second, and then everybody run out of the factory. So in this period of time, of course, since we have a global presence and coverage of our sales and service centers worldwide, we are still able to manage to provide on time, right in the time zone, technical service support. Of course, this is by remote media mostly due to the lockdown of worldwide major markets. For the sales support side, we are conducting regular video conferencing sales support meeting with our agents. Okay, so I think these two channels help us to stay in touch with all our customers technically and commercially. From our customers' point of view, okay, their first priority should be how to bring back their production into normal, right? As I mentioned before, this epidemic and lockdown is practically new to everybody, and it happened just all of a sudden. Talking about India more specifically, I already heard about the new terms called reverse migration, right? Even though the central government probably is a little bit locked down on the green zone, factory is allowed to be reopened, but they are not able to get the labor back. I think similar kind of reverse migration is also happening in major textile countries like Bangladesh or even Indonesia, because workers are not from the town. Workers are from the scattered place. So I will strongly believe that right after this crisis, all our customers, and including FONGs itself, will play more significant parts and attention in terms of, number one, automations. I think this will be a really, really important subject for all of us to looking into, because unavoidably, textile industry is a labor-intensive industry. But with these good lessons, all of us should try our utmost best how to reduce the usage of labor as much as we can. And that goes into the perspective of automation. I think this is the major things. And then I personally also see that we, being a reputable machinery suppliers in the world, we also have to gear up ourselves and provide a better training to our customers, provide a well-prepared menu for our customers, so that, touch wood, if there is a second epidemic happening in the future, they know what they should do. Because shutting down a capital equipment without a proper manual or procedures can be a disaster. And also it will generate a significant delay for them to restart the operation. So it's better to be well prepared of that. So we personally see, as a reputable machinery supplier, these two aspects will be the one that we should pay attention, and also to serve better to our customers in the future. Although I only represent for the FONG's brand dyeing machine, but for the whole FONG's group, I will say we are already, since we are the only one completely verticals from fiber to the final color textiles, we have already a completed production line for any textile entrepreneurs who would like to entering into healthcare textile products or medical textile products. We are already serving a lot of customers worldwide, including our home market, China, on medical textiles. Okay, and also with our mother group in China, China High Tech Group, they are also having their full production line in terms of the non-woven textiles, the very heat spun-borne fabrics. They also have the right production line to do it. So I think we are ready to serve any textile entrepreneurs in any of our markets, for them to develop any kind of medical care or healthcare textile products. It will be a $1 million questions, Mr. Gopal. I don't have a crystal ball, but based on my own personal experience on worldwide textile markets, I'll see this recovery. Probably we should talk about this term, the recovery of the textile business like this. Short term, for sure, the impact is the postponement of the orders. Okay, it is already happening, of course, and we are trying our best to manage any kind of the gap with our customers, with our buyer. Long term, I will say, after this COVID-19 crisis, as people are already talking about some kind of shifting of business due to the geopolitical situations. So one side, I will say, in long term, some other textile markets will probably get benefit out of it, probably from certain level of order diversions out from China. Okay, so that's why in the export side from FONGs, we are still seeing very optimistic, because we believe this kind of geopolitical factors will help to boost some other textile markets worldwide. But talking about China itself, they also putting a lot of efforts to boost their domestic demand right after the COVID-19 crisis. So although there might be certain level of export order diversion from China, but we are also optimistic to the Chinese market because the strong effort of the central government to boost the domestic economy. So I practically will presume that short-term wise, those good orders we have being concluded, good projects being concluded before the COVID-19 crisis, before the epidemic, that probably can be executed by third quarter of this year. Of course, it depends on how other major textile markets will ease down their lockdown. If such as like India, if India lockdown is going to be eased out by end of this month, then I will say those orders, good projects that being concluded before the crisis will start take off again by the third quarter. But then for the new investments, new projects, probably we will have to talk about beginning of 2021. But we are still very much optimistic because of these geopolitical factors and the boosting of the domestic economy of China.